Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And good evening, Manitoba hockey fans. Welcome into the return of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. We'll make a tiny change here. Hopefully the computer doesn't act up too badly. There we go. Episode 18 of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Happy Family Day, everybody. Hopefully everyone's had a wonderful day off if you've been able to have the day off. I know some people had to work on this day. No matter what you ended up doing, I hope you stayed safe, you stayed warm, and have a chance at some point to, relax and enjoy what's supposed to be a day off here in Manitoba throughout the country. Share down in the comments down below what you might have been up to today if you did end up having the day off and had a chance to spend it with family. Here around the Manitoba U20 hockey scene, we're getting into playoffs all around here very soon. Many leagues closing in on the end of the regular season for themselves here very soon. I've had a chance to be joined by a guest yesterday in a pre-recorded interview for this episode. Tonight for episode 18, and Dana Gordon, president of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, as we talk about the first little bit of playoffs that started in that league, and as well as all the rest of the playoff action that's going to be starting this week, and much more with that league's president. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of playoff talk today, a lot of talk about some teams clinching playoff spots, taking a look at some of the other teams that are close in certain leagues, and also taking a look at the University of Manitoba Bison's men's and women's programs, how they've been faring as of late in the U Sports hockey world. That all coming up on this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast, everybody. But first up, it's going to be Dana Gordon, president of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast, episode 18, and the return here to G-Show Productions on gshow.ca for your home for hockey in Manitoba in the province of Manitoba. Dana Gordon joined the show next. And it's Dana Gordon from the Winnipeg High School Hockey League joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Dana, we're into the playoffs now. for teams. I know that series have already wrapped up. We got to talking before this interview started about how the league's pretty happy with how the season went from the standpoint of not much rescheduling. I know that there was a big weekend where there was, or a week where there was some rescheduling throughout Manitoba hockey. But yeah,
Mhm.
just take me through, yeah, the league's view on the 2024-2025 season, how it's gone to this point.
So far, so good. Everything went really smoothly. Like I mentioned, and you already said, we didn't have a lot of rescheduling. I think it was two seasons ago. We had weeks at a time where we were rescheduling games and things like that. So it was really stressful. Last year, I believe we almost had to reschedule a final game, and not because of weather, because one of the teams competing was from out of town. So we've been lucky that way with the weather. And we've also been lucky. It's been a really good season. Everything sort of has gone fairly smoothly. Nothing overly egregious by anybody. It was overall went really smooth, and yeah, we're looking forward to having a really solid run into the playoffs.
Yeah, and before we get into the playoffs, just want to get into the regular season. Had you on near the start of the season, heading into it, talking about how this league has a competition committee and they try to split up teams as evenly as possible to get the best product. We saw that play out really positively again
Mm-hmm.
this year with competitive standings throughout all leagues. Of course, some teams ran away with it. But yeah, just even looking at the top division, the top team only separated by 2 points in Vincent
Yeah.
Massey and Oak Park. Take me through how nice it was to see this type of competition play out again, where things look so even.
Well, it's really great when we're lucky enough to have the kind of parity that we did have this year overall. It's again props to Kevin Landerville and Ray Agostino, who chair up the competition committee, for all the hard work that they do in gathering data and collecting, and also for the coaches for being so forthcoming about what kind of product they have going on the ice. We had some teams that had to move up into the Platinum Promotions division, which is the top division, Div One, and we had a couple of teams drop down. So it's always good. Yeah, there's maybe one or two teams that probably could have been pushed up into a division or not. But again, at the end of the day, you're also trying to create equity amongst the number of teams per division, so that you have a decent product and you're playing a fair amount more teams. So it always does change though, because it depends on your team makeup. Like for example, sometimes there's teams that will have 10 or 12 grade 12 kids, and then after they're gone, they'll have a really like sort of a rebuild that'll happen. So it's sometimes difficult to say, and I'm glad that we don't base it on how a team did last year is where they're going to be seated next year, because that's just unrealistic, because you never know what kind of quality you're going to get as players, and the numbers of players coming out, especially for some of those smaller schools in the rural areas.
Right, no, for sure. And I think that, like you said, there's sometimes going to be certain teams that move up, teams that move down. But overall, throughout this season, like the type of product we got were competitive hockey games. There were some blowouts in there, of course,
Yeah.
as there usually is, but for sure, another competitive and successful regular season for the Winnipeg High School Hockey League into round one, which started last week. A lot of teams in action. Yeah, take me through how the first week of the playoffs has gone for the teams competing here throughout the Winnipeg High School Hockey League.
Yeah. Well, our last so because of the high school provincials from the MHSAA, A division, so the Platinum Promotions division, has to finish their season a week before the Free Press and the Price divisions do. So as of last Friday, the 14th, that was the last day of regular season play for Platinum and Price divisions, and that was also the end of the qualifying round for the Platinum Promotions division. So starting on Tuesday, we'll have our 8 teams set for Platinum, and then we'll have our qualifying rounds for both the Price and the Free Press division. So I think in the Price, there's the top four teams have a bye, and then everybody else will play in. And in the Free Press division, the top three teams have a bye, and everybody else will play in. And then we keep rolling from there. Our playoffs, everything is a best of three series. It's home and home. So the top or higher ranked team obviously has the opportunity to have two games if they need to, if it goes to game three. And then we do until we get to the finals, and all our finals are done at Seven Oaks Arena. So we have a larger venue for all the best of threes for all three final divisions. And that'll wrap up. I think our last game was March 13th.
Right, and I remember, yeah, we talked about that, how the finals played at a neutral site for, I mean, all the teams, unless, of course, River East able to, and it's Dana Gordon from the Winnipeg High School.
You play your heart out.
Five, I know this.
Final divisions. And that'll wrap up. I think our last game was March 13th.
Right, and I remember, yeah, we talked about that, how the finals played at a neutral site for, I mean, all the teams, unless, of course, River East able to get their Seven Oaks team. Yeah, I mean, for the best of three format, though, like I know that there's some leagues that, for example, female hockey league, AAA league that does best of five. I know this is based on the time frame that this needs to get done, but talk about how we were talking about through the regular season, how there's parity, but how this best two out of three type of format has created the parity we've seen throughout the years, even in the playoffs with the big upsets of the past.
Yeah. Well, again, just a way back history lesson. I want to say the last 12 or 15 years we've moved to the best of three. It used to be a one and done for the finals. It was one game. You bring your you play your heart out, and that's it.
Right.
We leagues, obviously the teams wanted to have that ability to play those best of threes. Also gives a chance for some upsets and some good rivalries for coming. It gives kids a chance to play in front of their peers for school. So it's been really it's been really good. We've had some years where there have been all the top teams, once they get to the quarterfinals, have been knocked out of all three divisions. So it is really, it's kind of exciting and interesting, because it's just like any other league. Like, you play 24 games all season, but the real season starts when you hit the ice for the playoffs, because anything can happen. You get a hot goaltender, you could be the lowest ranked team, but you could cause some fits for some of those other teams that are used to being more successful. So it's always exciting.
Right, and it's definitely been done in the past. I know,
Yep.
I think back when I was in high school, I remember hearing about a team that was like 12th ranked that ended up going on a run all the way to the semis. So
Yep.
it'd be interesting if we see that again this season. But leaving you off with this, Dana, I mean, this league at the end of the day is seeing the talent grow so much in it from these programs getting better and better. Could you give maybe the viewers an update of uh, has there been many players that have gotten maybe offers to sign with junior teams more this season, or getting opportunities to get to that next level at post-secondary? Take us through that.
Well, every year we always have teams. We have a lot of our players, because they want to go into university or they're working. A lot of them do end up playing for the MMJHL teams here in Manitoba. We've always had players that will go and play junior, or we've had players go play on the West Coast on Vancouver Island in their league. There's lots of opportunities. It's hard to say how many are going this year, because the season's not over yet, and unfortunately we won't get that data till probably next season to find out where everything shakes out. But I know we've got kids all over Canada and the United States. They're playing for colleges, and they're playing in junior leagues, et cetera, et cetera. And we have had a few that have actually made it to the big show, Ryan Reeves being one, and Jamie Garbett being another one in the past. So that's always kind of cool too.
No, for sure, for sure. I guess I'll actually leave you off with this one, but given that this is almost another year in the books, given how smooth it's gone for the most part, what's, I guess, the thing you want to have happen most, see happen the most here to end off the year to make sure we come out with as little problems as possible in 2024, 2025?
Well, I guess the wish list for any league is to have, a really competitive, exciting final series for all three levels. Just you don't want to have them have a bunch of blowouts and things like that. That's not necessarily fun to play in on either end. We will also be starting to, once the season ends, it's no rest for the wicked here. We will start getting ready for the Rookie Classic, which is a 32 team tournament that is only grade 9s and 10s. So hopefully we'll get a lot of students coming at teams trying to put teams in for that. And yeah, just, good, clean hockey. Nothing, no shenanigans, we'll call them. Those are sort of some of the things that we hope for. And then, of course, we also have our awards that comes up as well. So there's always lots of things to be done. But again, just, good hockey, good weather, and nice competitive final rounds. And nothing beats shaking those kids' hands at the end of the season when you present them that banner. It doesn't matter if they're in the platinum division, the price division. It don't matter. That's what it's all about, and it's always really, really cool to watch.
Yeah, every championship, no matter what level it's at, like you said, always special, and can't wait for the conclusion of the season to see how it goes. To see how
me too.
End up shaking out. Dana Gordon of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Dana, thanks for taking the time to join me here.
Thanks for having me.
And Dana Gordon, president of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast on G-Show Productions for episode 18, brought to you by Terrico Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and Goaltenders. The top division of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, the Platinum Promotions Division, started their playoffs last week. 3 teams got a bye. We're going to take you through what the upcoming matchups are for that division this week, as playoffs will be continuing starting tomorrow. Same with the other divisions that are going to be starting off in the Winnipeg Free Press Division and the Price Division, which the Free Press Division is Division 2, the Price Division, Division 3. We're also going to get into the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League playoff qualifiers that are going to be starting up tomorrow, the MJHL, and the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League, and more here coming up on the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. But speaking of playoffs, leading up to the end of the regular season in the MFHL, there was a lot of hype around one matchup in particular. Both these teams ended up finishing top 2, but it was the battle to see who ended up getting first place. This was a big determiner in it, and the biggest determiner in how the Eastman Selects ended up being first place for the first time in their franchise's history in a regular season. See how it all happened coming up next year on the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. And then after that, we're going to get into stats and some news from around hockey leagues here in the province of Manitoba from U22 Hockey.
And live from Niverville, Manitoba, on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca, it's a Friday night presentation of MFHL Game Day here on your home for MFHL Hockey. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator for tonight's action, Graham the G-Show Forsyth. We're brought to you by Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, and Goaltenders. Down below the goal line now. Behind the net, occupied by Alameda, banks it up the boards up to the point of Vader. He go back to Scott Cook. Nice pass. Gets to Maya Grenier, who's denied by Alameda. Another save by number 35. Now it's behind her. No, behind the net. And it's up to Chloe Carrier, but she fans on the shot there. This picked up by Beavis, but she has her pocket pick. This onto the stick of Rio Pierre. She's able to angle pass. What a move by number 9 on the back end. Oh, loses it on the forehand, as she was named an all-star in the Female World Sports School Challenge. What a save by Labossiere, sticking out that right pad, as this ends up towards the close sports to our broadcast angle. Wozni knocks Beavis to the ice. That turned aside by Labossiere. Another save made. This played up to Chloe Carrier. Now back across to Isabella Carrier, denied by Almeida. Top 3, maybe top 5 at the least. And Delaney Rigo, oh, bar out she goes. So close to opening up the scoring. Thought that might have hit the inside of the bar, but it didn't. That's whacking away is Isabelle Labossiere. That tip in scores! It's the Eastman Selects who open up the scoring here tonight on home ice. As it's a great return to the lineup for Maya Grenier. She's the one who redirects it home. Sends it to the net, paddling that to the end boards was Almeida. Losing her balance and on her stomach right now. A short read to the low slot. Grenier looking for a second. Whacks away at a rebound, but turned away by Almeida to take that away from Heidinger. But Heidinger able to get it back and squeezes by the Avers defense. Sent towards the net. Loose puck there to 9. Kennedy Carey on the doorstep was Almeida. Furthest away from our broadcast angle, Eastman able to get it back. That shot turned aside by Almeida with 12 seconds remaining on the Eastman girl advantage. Back up to Haas. That shot wide of the net. Almost off of Almeida. Inbound scores. Is that Maya Grenier again? I believe it is. As number 9 strikes twice here, this time on the Eastman power play. Is this? It'll be held in the Avers zone by Callie Remler at the point to Scott Cook in the slot, turned aside by the pad of Almeida. It got it to Grenier, who played it to the slot, but that pass misfired. It's worked up by the Avers now. Pierre with the step, dangling in, trying to tug backhand, but Labossiere denying with that left pad. Picked up by Dixon, plays it to the point as Eastman gets the cycle going. Tipped in, scores! Grenier completes the hat trick as Eastman goes up 3-0. What a moment for number 9 in a return to the lineup. And as this game's gone along, so how do you find another gear in their game? That's what the Avers are searching for. Another good deflection in front for the Selects, denied by Almeida. Beavis now goes down low below the goal line in the Avro zone. Reverses this down to Isabella Carey. Tries going to the point, but that pass to Hawes got deflected in front, scores! It's Caitlin Schroeder rewarded for her hard work tonight with a redirection on the power play into the back of the net to beat Adriana Almeida. Assist to Scott Cook, plays that to the slot, into the feet of Heidinger, whacks away at it, another whack turned aside by Almeida, back into the slot now, to the point to Chloe Carey, her shot through, rebound into the backboards, that turned aside by Almeida again. Winnipeg, the Avers looking to bounce back tomorrow by the looks of it. So they'll be going into the loss column, maybe in this one, still some time left as Speechley powers away through, denied by Labossiere. Trying to get a favorable bounce, but the Selects able to get a stick in the lane. Picked up by the Arrows, tipped on that rebound there, but nice job by Lexi Remillard to get a stick in the grill of Liberty Amy. But the Selects sure know how to frustrate this offensive juggernaut in the Winnipeg Avers. 2 shutouts against them this season to win the season 3-1. It's the top offensive team in the league shut down tonight. A signature win from the Eastman Selects.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back to the Manitoba Hockey Podcast on G-Show Productions for episode 18. Dana Gordon, president of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, joined this edition of the show a bit earlier on. At this point in the episode, we just got done showing you all highlights of one of our final MFHL game day live streams of their regular season, their playoffs, and kicking off tomorrow. Puck drops on the 2024-2025 MFHL playoffs officially at the Hockey for All Center as the defending champion, back-to-back defending champion, Winnipeg Ice, take on the Pembina Valley Hawks. We're going to be covering that game. Very excited for it, as playoffs always the best time of the year, no matter what level of hockey it is, right? And there's been many levels of exciting hockey throughout this season in the U22 or / amateur hockey scene in Manitoba. And yeah, let's get into all of the stats, the standings right away from these great leagues, starting with the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. There are 3 teams that have clinched. The Dauphin Kings, the Steinbach Pistons, and Winkler Flyers all clinched with wins over the weekend. The teams that are close to clinching at this point and joining those teams, the closest being Portage right now, the Terriers, as they're at 69 points, only 5 back of the Winkler Flyers. As for the West Division, it's a bit tighter, as we can see here. In terms of the gap from 4 and 5, as Niverville has quite a sizable advantage over Selkirk right now. As for Verdun, they only got 3 points on Waywacy Capo, but 2 games in hand, which is very key for them. This is how this week has started in the league, as Steinbach took care of business. Selkirk with a huge win, taking down the Portage Terriers. Portage going to have to work a bit harder to end up clinching a playoff spot. Waywacy Capo, a huge win for them, and huge considering that Verdun ends up losing to Winkler today. Action gets going again in the league tomorrow with the lone game between Dauphin and Northern Manitoba, and then the rest of the schedule for this week. As you can see here, I don't believe we included every single game, so be sure to check out mjhlhockey.ca for all the details. As for the stats leaders in this league, Connor Peranuzzi continues to lead the way for Steinbach, 80 points in 49 games played. His goaltender has been phenomenal as well, and Christian Green, as he's 1 win shy of win number 30 this season. Those are the stats. As mentioned, you can check them all out in full detail on the MJHL's website. Speaking of players from the Winkler Flyers, Lagarden honored during the Flyers home game a few nights ago at this point on RBC game night, as Jace Lagarden was recognized Sunday night as the Flyers RBC Community Ambassador. The article going on to say that he's displayed outstanding citizenship and sportsmanship both on and off the ice, and commitment to volunteer. Congrats to Jace, Mr. Lagarden, on being honored by RBC during the Flyers RBC game night in the past few days. Moving on to the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League now, is I don't believe these stats are quite right, to be honest with you. Yeah. I guess we won't be changing up the stats here. It's very strange that won't change. What? I think I actually grabbed the wrong stats. These have changed. I guess we can go through the changes of what they are, of what's happened here in the AAA league. But it's Brandon that's no longer on top. I can tell you that right now, as it's the Winnipeg Wild who have ended up jumping to top of them in the standings. This website's slow right now as well. Trying to get to the standings. Oh, I guess these are the right standings, actually. So yeah, Brandon's still on top. I don't know where my head was at with that, but I guess I was just seeing things. I could have sworn that the Winnipeg Wild were on top. They're not anymore, though. It's the Brandon Wheat Kings who still remain atop of the standings with 77 points, 37 wins, in 45 games. Of course, Brandon ended up going all the way to the national championship final last year and losing. They're gearing up for another chance to try to get back there, as they got to gear up first for the playoffs, as they're well on their way to making it there. As you can see the full standings, not much has really changed, to be honest with you, just certain teams jogging for position at this point. In terms of the way the weekend went, as we can see here, the Winnipeg Wild cleaning up against the Parkland Rangers. The Thrashers thrashing Norman 10-3 as well on Saturday, as there were a lot of games and teams in action. As for Sunday yesterday, quite a few games that happened. Some blowouts in there, as we can see. Brandon 6-0 dominance over Kenora. And other than that, though, some closer games during that Sunday. I mean, Interlake ended up beating on Kenora pretty bad. It was Brandon actually played today in the lone game, as I'm just seeing that now. Full schedule available at the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League's website at MBU18AAA hockey.ca. As for the stats leaders in this league, it's still Luca Pira and Ludovic Perot who lead the way for the Winnipeg Wild. Jonah Lemoyne for the Brandon Wheat Kings right in the mix, as we can see there, with 74 points in 45 games played. Justin Perot leading the way in wins still with 23 in 28 games played. Zach Matheson 3 behind him, as the rookie has 20 on the season. For the Bruins, that is, the Winnipeg Bruins. The Brandon Wheat Kings goaltenders of Matthew Mitcha and Brady Lowe end up being in that top 5. Lowe putting up 18 wins in 21 games so far in his rookie season. As for Hockey Fights Cancer Night for the Winnipeg Bruins, that's going to be happening this Friday at Southdale Arena, as it's going to be held in memory of Kelly Bartley and others fighting the battle. Be sure to, if you're looking to check out some high-level hockey and you got nothing to do on a Friday night, be sure to check that out, as money would be going to a fantastic cause to try to fight this ugly, ugly disease in cancer. By the way, speaking of, crazy things happening in the hockey world right now, did you guys check out the Canada and the USA hockey game in the Four Nations that happened on Saturday night? Well, if you missed it, I'm sure you heard about it and saw it all over the internet. 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. It just felt like everything was leading up to something breaking out, and well, it did. Didn't expect 3 fights, to be honest with you, though. Didn't even expect fighting to happen to begin the hockey game. I thought there could be fights at some point, but that's how high the tensions are and were between those teams, and just with everything going on outside of the game in the world right now, and even the booing of the anthems having a big part to do with it, I feel like. And the crazy thing is, these two teams will be playing against each other again coming up on Thursday, as Canada was able to get by and make it to the gold medal game. Pulling for the fellas, well, I don't know why I just called them fellas. They're grown men and NHL players, a bunch of superstars playing on a team. I guess I should phrase it like this: best of luck to Canada's best, the best in the world, as they look to rebound against Team USA, looking for revenge in their home this time around in Boston and TD Garden. As the Four Nations has been fantastic. It's gotten a lot of buzz from not just around the hockey world, but from outside it, and people claiming it the superior All-Star weekend. And yeah, this is when All-Star weekend was supposed to go. The NHL ended up replacing it with this, which, I mean, bringing back best on best hockey of the best players in the world. What more can you ask for? There are a few things that I think they could do to improve it, perhaps, but yeah, way better than the All-Star game, which this isn't even comparable. This is night and day. The All-Star game has fallen so far from what it used to be. The skills competition is become a joke too. Hopefully it comes back to form at some point right in the future. But yeah, let's get back into talking about the Manitoba hockey scene, shall we? As for the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, the Platinum Promotions Division started last week, as it was 3 teams who ended up getting byes. The top 3 teams in this division in the Vincent Massey Trojans, the Oak Park Raiders, and the Westwood Warriors. The teams that will be moving on and that have moved on from this division were all the favorites in that first round last week. The Huskies ended up defeating the Selkirk Royals hockey team. River East ends up making it through, defeating the Stonewall Rams. St. Paul's, the Crusaders, ended up making it past, ended up sweeping their opponents. And as for the Sanford Sabres, they end up sweeping their opponent in the J.H. Bruns Broncos. For the Steinbach Regional Sabres, they would go on to end up besting West Kildonan, and Sanford didn't sweep the J.H. Bruns Broncos. They ended up beating them in 3 games. It took all 3 of them for them to move on. They'll be taking on Oak Park. Sturgeon Heights will be taking on Vincent Massey, the top seed. River East and St. Paul's will be facing off against each other as well in that 4-versus-5 quarterfinal series. And for Westwood, they will be taking on the Steinbach Regional Sabres, who for Steinbach, they cruised through their first round, put up quite a bit of offense on West Kildonan, but Westwood will be a bit of a tougher challenge for this squad. As for the other divisions in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, Division 2 and Division 3, which Division 2 is the Winnipeg Free Press Division. They're going to get going, of course, starting tomorrow. Let's just taking a look at the playoff matchups to come. In Division 2, it's going to be the Sanford Sabres taking on the Shaftesbury Titans. The Dakota Lancers take on Gabrielle Raw, the Cavaliers, in round 1. That will be at Dakota at 4 p.m. 3:20 will be the start of Shaftesbury and Sanford. Miles Mack takes on Murdoch McKay at Gateway Arena at 4 p.m. tomorrow. And then the series that will get going on Wednesday will be the Calvin Clippers taking on Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Leo Remillard taking on St. John's. And yeah, other than that, teams as mentioned by Dana Gordon going to get a bye in the Winnipeg Free Press Division into the next round. So in terms of it, Garden City, John Sauvé, and Belleville all getting byes in that Division 2, so the top 3 teams there. As for Division 3, which would be the Price Division, their action will get going coming up tomorrow, as well as Glenlawn will be taking on Kildonan East, the Reveres. Churchill will be at home to take on the Pinawa Panthers. Niverville, their hockey team, taking on the Windsor Park Royals. And Powerview Sag King Wild taking on Linden Christian on Tuesday. Games will get going again on Wednesday. And in terms of the only team that ends up getting a bye in this division, it ends up being, let's take a look here, ends up being Louis Riel, Warren Lorette, and Edward Schreier, the Barons, as they finish as the top teams in this division. So yeah, I like how the playoff layouts are laid out, to be honest with you. I think that if you do end up having a strong season like these top end teams had, yeah, all the power to you. You should deserve to get a bye if there's a chance to be able to, and great that the Winnipeg High School Hockey League was able to find that type of balance that way this season, as me and Dana Gordon talked about. Very competitive league, as she said. That's why we saw a lot of parity this season, because of just the excellent competition committee in that they have. Their sister league in the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League. I don't know if sister league is the right term, but yeah, Division 1 and 2 playoff qualifiers. So for this league in particular, they're not going to be starting playoffs until next week. Their regular season wrapped up last week. And the reason why Division 3 isn't doing any playoff qualifiers is I believe it's based on the number of teams. They only got 7 in their division compared to the others in Division 1 and Division 2 have a bit more and have allowed to have these qualifiers happen. There's only 9 teams in Division 1, so it's an 8 versus 9 play-in series between the Warren Wildcats and the West Kildonan Wolverines, who are going to be starting that tomorrow. Game 2 will go on Thursday, and if needed, Game 3 will go on Friday afternoon. As for Division 2, a bit different, as there's going to be plenty of teams that will be in action playing series for qualifiers. The Lorette Scorpions taking on the Sturgeon Heights Huskies. The Garden City Collegiate Gophers take on the River East Kodiaks. The Westwood Warriors host the Leo Remillard Renards. As for J.H. Bruns, the Broncos, they take on the John Taylor Pipers. And for the River East Kodiaks, well, yeah, they'll be back in action on Wednesday for their Game 2. Almost every single Game 2 going on Wednesday, as it'll be a loaded first part of the schedule with all 4 play-in series starting on the Tuesday, and then John Taylor and J.H. Bruns will end up getting a day's break for Game 2 for themselves, as they'll be playing it on Thursday instead of Wednesday. For all the stats, be sure to check out the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League's website at WHSHL.ca today. What about university hockey? How the Bison's programs have ended up faring here to end off their regular seasons, as they have come to an end. They have wrapped up. As for the men's Bisons, they ended off their season with, 3 straight losses. Last week ended up losing 2 close games, 2 heartbreakers, honestly, to the Saskatchewan Huskies. A season where, down the stretch, the men's program ended up getting quite a few wins strung together, as we could see there 4 straight, but ending off their regular season with 3 straight losses. Never a fun feeling, that's for sure, when it does play out that way. But as for if their season will continue or not, I don't believe so. But we're going to take a look anyways, as I pull up the standings on my screen. So yeah, I don't believe Team Manitoba makes it in. They finished 4th out of 5th in the Canada West East Division. And as for how the schedule would work out for playoffs, I'm trying to find it here. I'm not too sure, but as of right now, they have no more games left on their schedule. I'm pretty sure this is the end for the men's Bison's program, but we will have the update for you coming up next week on next week's episode. As for the men's program, if this is the end for them, looking to, of course, improve during the off season, as any good organization should be looking to do. As for the women's program, they fared a bit better this season and ended off their season much stronger, bouncing back from back-to-back losses the weekend before against the Alberta Pandas. They took down their rivals in the Saskatchewan Huskies 5-2 and 2-1. As for the U of M women's hockey program, they'll be playing on in the Canada West quarterfinals starting on Friday. These games are going to be played in Winnipeg, Manitoba at their home rink, so they'll have home ice advantage. As for the women's team this season, very strong year. as they ended up finishing second in the Canada West East Division with a 15-13 record. The Alberta Pandas, though, they were the class of that division, with a 13-point difference between them and Manitoba with a 24-4 record. Manitoba's opponent in Trinity Western ended up finishing third in the Canada West Division. In the Canada West Division, as I should say. So it's a crossover of the second-ranked team from the East taking on the third-ranked team from the West in Trinity Western. Team Manitoba, or not Team Manitoba, the University of Manitoba Women's Bisons looking to advance into the semis, looking for a big playoff run coming up here in this 2024-2025 season. We're going to take one last commercial break here, and then I'll be back for some final words on this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast for episode 18 here on your home for Hockey Manitoba on gshow Productions.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest... Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Well, you've made it to the end of this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Want to thank Dana Gordon, president of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, for coming on and being the guest in this episode. Of course, their playoffs are officially set to get underway in the Winnipeg Free Press Division and the Price Division tomorrow. The Platinum Promotions Division playoffs will be continuing for the quarterfinals starting tomorrow as well. So, very exciting time around hockey and the high school hockey scene here in the province of Manitoba and Winnipeg specifically. And for Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League teams, it's that time of the year where the playoff qualifiers starting this week, as mentioned. MJHL, 3 teams have clinched so far. Going to be a lot of fun to see who the next teams are going to be to clinch. My money is on Portage, given how many points they have. And yeah, in the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League, can Brandon keep pace for first place in the standings, or do they fall a bit? Either way, I think Brandon could be gearing up for another playoff run, folks. This is a team that ended up making the national championship last year at the TELUS Cup and just fell short. What does this year bring? What does this year's playoffs bring overall in the U22 Manitoba hockey scene? Well, we'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. If you did, I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. If you did tune into this one and you enjoyed the content you saw here on this Monday night, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like, as that all helps us grow here on the channel on gshow Productions. Lets other people that may be interested in this content start to see it, perhaps. And yeah, we're thinking of changing the show dates to Monday. Schedule is going to be coming out this week. That's going to be clarifying that, as well as next week the full schedule will be out for that content that we'll have on tap. But busy week ahead for us, a whole whack of MFHL playoff games, more podcasts coming your way with a lot of great content in store. Thank you to Terrico, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and Goaltenders for sponsoring another edition of this podcast. We'll be back next week, everybody. Until then, it's been me, your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth, giving you the peace out and waving so long, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you then. Funny thing, just noticed I got double on my camera as I'm waving here, and I'm thinking, why does it look like it's a mirror? It's kind of trippy. we'll have the technical difficulties sorted out next week, of course. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next week in about 7 days.